Hi and welcome to Scott's Inverse. Today we're going to rehouse our Scolopendra dehaani, the giant Vietnamese centipede. And I'm also going to show you guys how I do it, how I transfer a centipede from one enclosure over to another. But we're down in the spider shed. We're not using the fancy light box or anything like that this time. I'm taking it back to old school Scott's Inverts. And in fact, let me just show you. Look. We are rebuilding our collection up. They're all the small slings and grown on juvies, and the adult females are down along here. We are getting there. I'm about a quarter of the way to how we were before we had that horrible eating incident. Anyway, let's go and check out the Scolopendra dehaani, the setup and the rehouse. So let's start off by showing you the temporary setup on the racking. It's just allowing for about 1.5 inches of substrate. I mean, a lot of people say you want the same length in substrate, same depth of substrate as the centipede is in length, but they don't really burrow straight down like that. So if you go for half, we're all good. 9 times out of 10, Scolopendra dehaani is lying underneath the cork bark, nice and chilled, just like that. Big fat water dish in there. They do need a water dish, and that has to be topped up all the time. Now let's go and check out what we're going to put it in. So here we have a custom aquaria, 12 by 8 by 8, 6 inches of substrate, which is mainly peat moss with a little bit of pot and compost in there as well. We don't want to use coir with any centipede whatsoever, as coir can actually interfere with them and kill them. So I'm leaving that little dentation at the front, and I'm going in with a hose pipe to give it a good soak down. Now the only reason I'm using a hose pipe is I find it a lot easier to use that instead of a spray bottle, especially when you've got a bigger collection. I haven't got to keep going up to the house to top up the water bottle. I can just use it straight out of the hose pipe. So it looks like I'm completely drowning this enclosure, but what I'm going to do is literally leave it right there to soak down the front. And yeah, we are going old school with this. No fancy light box for this episode, straight back to old school. And again, just showing you there that divot at the front, just kind of giving it like a naturalistic feel, because where they live in the forest and that isn't a flat surface. Now these pieces of cork bark, I've just soaked those in water. Again, Vietnamese forests, kind of thinking along those lines, high humidity but not absolutely drenched. And this is where our centipede is going to spend a lot of its time, is under those. And just while I'm putting that bit together, let me tell you, there are quite a lot of different types of morphs of this centipede. You can get them with dark brown heads, brown yellowy orange heads, reddish brown, bright red and cherry red heads as well as, and the segments can reflect those different colours accordingly. But we're going in with a load of moss there, and again we can do heavy moss in these enclosures because the centipede will just go straight through that moss. Not like the spider, we haven't got to create openings. The centipede will literally just swim through the soil, looking absolutely spectacular at the same time. And indeed I go in super heavy with that substrate. Now the Scolopendra dehaani was actually described in 1840, but it was also reclassified in 1930 as a subspecies of Scolopendra subspinipes. But in 2012 there was another reclassification, and they reclassified this centipede as a completely different species. But yeah, go in nice and heavy with that moss. I absolutely adore it. And what I'll do, take you for a top view, looking straight down on the enclosure now, so you can see exactly how much moss I've put in. Those 2 pieces of cork bark is probably where it's going to spend a lot of its time. And I'm just looking here now where I can actually put a water dish, because I went in heavy with the moss and I've completely forgot I've got to leave room for that water dish. The water dish for these has to be topped up. Just keep it filled up, because when they do drink they will go and literally empty that water dish in one sitting. Absolutely amazing creatures, apex predators also. So pull out the hose pipe again, we go in and top it up with that water. Now this centipede is found across Southeast Asia, but you can also find it in India, Japan and even Hong Kong. And once the whole enclosure is set up like it is now, I'm just spraying that moss just to give it a bit of water. It'll help with the humidity again, and to help with it settling in. Also, we don't want to drown the centipede, so we don't want to overfill the actual enclosure with water. And then we're just going in with some leaf litter across the top. And again, this isn't for us to go, oh, look at that, it looks nice. This just all aids the centipede's feel of being in that forest floor, in that forest kind of floor feeling. It's all set up, and now we'll go for the transfer. So how I transfer centipedes from one enclosure to the other, or from the temporary enclosure into its rainforesty type feel, is like this. Sliding lid. That cork bark there is exactly where the centipede is going to be. They do burrow, they can go arboreal, but 9 times out of 10 they are sitting underneath that flat piece of cork bark that you've put in there. Now I need to get this centipede into something like a catch cup real safe, and the best thing that I can find to do it is a tarantula room catch tubes. So just position that lid, so if anything goes wrong, if that centipede tries to move around or come out of the enclosure, we can close the lid really fast, and hopefully the centipede just touch its back there. Just all I did there was touch its terminal legs to try and get it to move forward ever so gently, because its head is positioned, or it was positioned, right by the opening of the catch tube. And there we go. It can't grip onto the catch tube very well, so hopefully that'll aid us in when we come to rehousing as well. But look, once it's in the catch tube, we can have a couple of minutes and just absolutely admire this beautiful specimen. And again, a huge centipede. They grow to 20 to 25 centimeters in length. And while we're rehousing it, or just after we rehoused it, I'll talk a little bit about that venom as well that these possess. But just look, the underside again, absolutely beautiful. Apex predator. They will literally bite a Mario worm, super worm, with the fangs, and as it's injecting the venom, it will wrap itself or wrap its legs around the actual prey item as well, and then literally go to town on it. It's really something to watch, really spectacular when they go hunting as well. And if you're keeping spiders, these are an absolute beautiful addition. Now then, get these lids on the ready, because these guys can come flying out the enclosure. So I've catch cups positioned absolutely everywhere, and just remember that if anything goes wrong, we need to close that lid super fast. So here we have the catch tube with the centipede in. I'll just show you where it is, because it's up the other end, literally kind of holding itself against the sides there. So I'm just taking off that end real slow, and I kind of foolishly thought that it just slides straight down, but no, it don't. So these centipedes are a lot more robust than what tarantulas are, so we can shake the tube just a little bit, just kind of very tiny movements, just to make it a little bit discomfort for the centipede, so then the centipede actually wants to come down. And this one is being an absolute pain. Usually they've kind of slid down by now and come straight in, and there he goes, boom, straight in. So just while we admire that centipede in the enclosure, a study done in China on dehaani found that the venom contained neurotoxic components which act on ion channels. The same study also reported venom had an anti-coagulant and hemolytic and platelet aggressive properties. What that means is basically venom is known to act on the potassium ion channels in the nervous system, which regulate heartbeat and breathing. Prey items effectively die due to the heart stopping and oxygen being able to be supplied to the brain. As for humans, there are no, or at least very rare, unsustained reports of human deaths on record, but the venom is regarded as a very painful experience. There was a very common one of a very young girl that got bit on the head, but there's no medical papers out there. In fact, it was at an army base, so the army hospital reported it, and you can only find online references to the hospital report where the actual young girl identified the centipede herself. So it's very much a grey area. A lot of work needs to be done with centipede venom to find out a little bit more about it. But just look, isn't she absolutely beautiful? Bright orange legs, exploring her enclosure. Like she's going for a little explore under the pieces of the cork bark. I reckon she might come out of that one. Yeah, she is. she is, because I made a little divot on the one in the left, so she won't have to burrow herself, so she can just go in there, relax, and make it her own. But those terminal legs as well, look at those. Absolutely awesome. My God, I do love the centipedes quite a lot, my word. And boom, we've got her on the shelf in Scots inverts, nicely straight hidden underneath that bark. Awesome. Boom! So that was the Scolopendra dehaani rehouse. It went pretty well, if you do ask me. Yes, I'm addicted now to this selfie stick thing that was given to me by Bailey's Bud Blog, but this is how I normally do the live stream. So we've got the vape there, Andrew Smith's DVD. Normally have the phone on one of these extendable things as well, with the laptop running the comments just here. But yeah, just thought I'd show you a little bit of kind of behind the scenes, kind of almost. But what I look at down the other end is this. So when you're looking at me on a live, this is what I'm kind of looking down at. And speaking of lives, we have got one coming up this Tuesday with Grinless Creatures from 8 p.m. onwards. Jaden's going to join us with his beautiful other half as well, talking about his collection, hopefully showing off a load of his spiders as well. But I absolutely love this man. We have such a long relationship now. He really is quality guy. Anyway guys, thank you so much for watching, and as always, we shall see you again on the next one.